I know nothing about this. I was surprised to see reports from Chairman Nunes on that count today. I mean, let's back up and recall where we have been. The President of the United States accused his predecessor, President Obama, of wiretapping Trump Tower during the campaign. Nothing of the sort occurred, and we've heard that confirmed by the director of the FBI, who also pointed out that no president, no White House can order the surveillance of another American citizen. That can only come from the Justice Department with the approval of a FISA court. So today, I really don't know to what Chairman Nunes was referring.
Yeah, we don't do anything illegal. Okay, Mike Cernovich, the man they said was fake news because he's been so accurate. We've got you on phone now. Go ahead and tell us about this big breaking news.
Oh, my God. So I've been waiting to break this story out, but I couldn't break the story until I had a big scoop like Susan Rice. But the whole reason I broke the Susan Rice story is because I wanted to break the story, and I wanted to break the story on your show because we have the whole enchilada, the pedophile networks, the deep state. So I'm going to break it down for you real quick. The reason Trump can't get his people hired is because the security clearances are being jammed up and not going through. The reason they're not going through is that the people who administer the polygraph in deep state are actually part of the pedophile ring, and they only want pedophiles in deep state because they're compromised and they can be blackmailed. So everything that we thought that Trump was making a mistake, he actually wasn't. The people who administer the polygraphs in deep state are all part of the pedophile network. They only want to hire people they can blackmail, and that is why a lot of General Flynn guys, especially, they weren't able to get security clearances. So this goes way deeper. This is why they went after you. They went after me. My Wi-Fi literally is not working now. I don't even know what's going on once I tweeted out.
I've had CIA people say they can't come on anymore. Their whole lives have been ruined. I mean, they're coming after everybody. This pedophile thing is what they're afraid of.
Yeah, so this is the real thing. We now know that is how deep state is sabotaging Trump. Now, I talked to the person who had investigated it. I worked at my detailed source network, and he had told me that where this happens initially is in swingers clubs. And these roofie them essentially, and then children are brought in and they pose for pictures with children, naked children.
Oh, I was told that by sources that they'll have a woman trick you with first somebody that's like 16 when you're drugged. Wow, this is amazing. My other sources are telling me this too. Mike Cernovich, you're awesome. Sorry I got frustrated earlier. Skype drives me crazy sometimes. Great crew, great people. We're going to come back. I just want to get all this intel out. And we got the guy that broke the Susan Rice information on with us right now. The gold standard in real news. This has been my sources, and I can't get into all the sources, even though they're on air, some of them. They can tell me more off air, they can't on air. But, I mean, you know, take Sawman, Craig Sawyer. I mean, he's a former SEAL team leader, been in the most elite SEAL team. Obviously, I'm not going to say what he did there. And a federal officer led task forces, you name it. 5 shows on Discovery and History. 3 of them, he's the main guy. A lot to lose. And he's been threatened with this. So he goes public, says we're going to start doing shows about it from the sources, because the thing missing is media that has the courage to cover it. And from other sources, that's what I get is they take congressmen. I've had this from FBI, CIA, Navy SEALs, Delta Force, Army, you name it, all these groups, because it's just thick as thieves. They can't stand it. It's everywhere. And they'll be there, and that's how they do it, is they get a mistress to drug you, then bring kids in, take photos, or a 16-year-old you don't know, you're drugged with another woman, brings them in, and that this is the standard operating procedure of, oh, let me get you a hooker, and then she looks like she's 20, but she's 16. Then they've got you, and then that's how they're compromising people, and then you say the exact thing from your source. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so there's 2 layers to this I learned about. And I also heard from the source, he told me that actually Pizzagate was a distraction, and it was actually a false flag, a psychological operation run by Deep State to get people focusing away from long.
Was this before I figured it out or after that?
This was, I can't give the exact date because I don't want to reveal my sources, and I am spied on, and they have.
No, I mean, they admit they're spying, but I mean, I get it. I figured that out too. Yeah.
So what really is going on, there's 2 parallel institutions. One is that the pedophilia is not about people who are actually into children. Deep State uses that so that they control everybody within Deep State. I've heard that as many as 1/3 of people in the intelligence community are either actual pedophiles or they have been photographed as children. So that is tier one. Those are the people, they go into the swingers clubs and they're partying. And then what they do is they kind of push people. They say, oh, you're in a swingers club. Have you ever done like ecstasy? And then people start doing ecstasy. And then eventually they get roofied. And then they wake up and they find out there's pictures of them with naked children. I'm not even talking about 15-year-old girls. I'm talking about, 4-year-old, 5-year-old naked children. And now Deep State owns them. They've done that to people who administer the polygraph test and who are responsible for security clearances at Deep State. So right now, the real story is that Trump can't get his people in. He can't get his team in because Deep State won't approve their security clearance.
And the FBI controls the polygraphs, and they're controlled.
They're controlled by, with the pedophile blackmail stuff. So the biggest untold story, because it's so inside baseball, is that Trump can't get his people in because the people who are doing the security clearances, they don't want Trump supporters in because Trump supporters aren't into that kind of stuff, and they know that you can't blackmail and control them. So they do roofie people. That is how they blackmail
Well, I've never
them.
told this story, and I'm tempted to tell it, but Auntie and I were out at a business dinner about 3 years ago, and they brought over our drinks, and I thought the iced tea tasted kind of funny. And then about 30 minutes in, I'm feeling really weird, and all of a sudden these beautiful women come in. They're like, oh, go with us. And I was smart. And he goes, yeah, we've been drugged. We got out of there and barely made it down the street, barely got cabs. And by the time I got home, I was crawling. Because I had a car down there, crawling into the house. And I don't know what they hit me with. I never went and got tested, but that was definitely an intelligence setup. I never told that story till just now.
Yeah, no, I've been told actually by people, they've told me that I have 6 months and that's it. And then I'm either going to have to take some kind of bribe or that they're going to tell me that they're really going to take
that's just how they play mind games, like they're in control.
Yeah.
Mike, we're going to run over these people. Can you smell their blood? Can you smell the blood, brother?
Well, that's why we're breaking these Deep State stories. That's why people are coming to you and coming to me, because they want them out, and they realize that the Susan Rice story, Bloomberg sat on it, the Washington Post sat on it. Nobody wanted to run it because they knew this is bigger than Watergate. By the way, Sean Hannity, Eric Prince, they were also wiretapped. They were spied on. You were spied on. I was spied on. Roger Stone was. Chuck Johnson was. Everybody was spied on.
Anybody who isn't a pedophile.
Yeah, we're all being spied on. That's why everybody has to be very careful.
They call us empowered individuals they don't control. Red-blooded Americans are all being spied on. Let's come back, Mike. You're laying out truth because I have my own sources. This guy's dead on.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run. Alec Jones and the GCN radio
war, and Trump has said he wants to kill pedophiles. He's on record. We know he's turned the Justice Department loose. The problem is once it hits the level of the courts, it's just ending there. So from your sources, I've got mine. One of them's coming up next hour. Where is this battle? Where is this fight right now? How epic is this?
Right now, to keep our eye on the prize, the eye on the prize are security clearances. That is the eye on the prize. Every time a Trump person is denied a security clearance, that is where Trump's people need to investigate that person and his ties to pedophilia. That's what I told. They go.
Yeah, not the person who's denied, not the person that's denied, but the people doing the security clearance. And let me tell you how, I don't know, because I have my sources, obviously. And let me explain something. Everybody that's a patriot gets refused. They'll say, oh, he was at a bar 2 weeks ago and a Russian shook his hand and he didn't know this was a Russian spy. Well, they're sending in the double agent Russian. They take a photo or video. Then that's shown. When Trump says, why can't I get any of my people? They use this whole Russia thing as the excuse when they've got a team of Russians out there going around making connections that aren't Russians. They're fake Russians. I mean, they're the Russian background. I mean, this is, so what you're saying is what I've been told separately by my White House sources. So that's amazing.
Yeah, it's all coming together. And that is why, the media, they're really going after us hard. And the real reason the media freaked out about Pizzagate, I also found out, was because they knew that people were looking into pedophilia, and they don't want that. But it wasn't about, here's what the guy told me, and most people have confirmed it. He goes, Mike, this might sound really nasty or nihilistic to you, he goes, but it's not about pedophilia, it's about security clearances. And I go, well, wait. I go, what do you mean it's not about the children? He goes, no, you got to look at it. The long game is the deep state. They're not into the children. They are into controlling who gets the security clearance, and they want to make sure the people who give security clearances are pedophiles. He goes, the eye on the prize is every time a security clearance gets denied, have them look at the person who is denying the clearances. Those are the people who are compromised.
Because that's how they keep you out of deep state. Once they get a deep state, all they care about is keeping you out of it so you can't clean them out. And then meanwhile, you're right. They're nihilistic. They're into all sorts of stuff. In fact, a lot of the big people like Eric Schmidt and others, he's into like 20 women. You know, he's not into that. But they clearly, absolutely, that's the thing. Cheating on your wife's not good enough. Being gay is not good enough anymore. Now they've got to have something. And so a lot of folks, I've been told, you have to be inducted, like at Bohemian Grove. There's not all bad folks at Bohemian Grove. Most of it's above board. But it's very homoerotic. That's admitted. They tell you, you want to be in the bigger club, have sex with this 15-year-old. And
yeah, because they own you. Again, that's the whole. And then the other angle that we can talk about, and I can give you names. I have people who've been arrested. That there have been multiple arrests, but nobody was ever able to connect the dots. What they also do is they hire the security at comic conventions and Comic-Cons, and the security people are trained to recognize kind of 14-year-old wayward girls, and that's how they recruit their sex slaves. Is all these 14-year-old girls. You can kind of tell when somebody's a little bit lost. So they actually have.
Yeah, they look desperate. They want help, and you tell them, hey, you want to be a star, but hey, you're too young for porn. That's in 4 years, sweetheart. We're going to put you on the inside track, baby. Then they roll their sleeves up and say, by the way, take some of this to get full control of them.
Exactly. So that is the tier 2. So the tier 1 is the pedophilia, the compromise stuff, the swingers clubs. That's how they do.
Okay, it was in my iced tea, and I was like, we didn't even hear. We're like, let's get out of here. We're having a business meeting. I go, let's get out of here. And he was like, yeah. And all of a sudden, all these, oh, hi. Hey, oh, go with us. It was like total setup. But I'm luckily.
The Anthony Weiner type. Why do you think Anthony Weiner and Uma are still together? That was actually a scoop that I had last year, that they never were divorced. It's a sham. Well, Weiner's into underage girls, and people want to wonder if Uma was involved, what she knew. Was she recruiting them? There might be another connection there, and that's why Weiner and Uma have remained together, even though he's ridiculed her, humiliated her, ruined her life repeatedly. There's something very weird going on there. Maybe there's a recruitment ring or something that they're part of.
Well, yeah, and exactly, and let's expand on that. Under Islam and the Wahhabist sect that her family's part of, her mother was the top person pushing genital mutilation in the West of women. That is a major tenet of Islam, is pedophilia of girls and boys. They kill gays because 2 adult men aren't supposed to have sex, or 2 adult women, so everything's upside down. That's considering adults, whatever. Make judgments if you want, but that's their right. Under Islam, it's in the Quran that Muhammad's marrying 9-year-olds, and so as long as it's with a child, it's okay. This is truly satanic. That's why there's an alliance with the globalists and radical Islam, because it's 2 pedophilic organizations, Mike.
Yeah, they are, and that is also, and again, you and I, we tend to look at things morally and view everybody involved as kind of evil, but most of the people, they just view it, they're not like us, Alex. They're not like the people listening in. All they view it as, hey, if that guy's a pedophile like Dennis Hastert was actually promoted up the ranks a lot higher than he should have been.
Sure. From nowhere, because he was a pedophile, he was a procurer, so they took him from nowhere to be run into the house, and then he made the speaker because he was a weak person, would do whatever he was told.
Exactly, and because he was molesting children, the congressional pages, there's so much, they're so deep, and that is why everybody is really freaking out. Nobody's looked into it, and the real reason they wanted to remove General Flynn, I don't know if anybody's talked about this, but you probably know it, is General Flynn, even though it wasn't his turf, he had known about a lot of this stuff.
Well, you notice his son, I made a big deal out of this, keeps hammering it because he's smart and knows what's going on. Of course Flynn knows about this, and it's disgusting, and that's why I'm mad that, we didn't really get sucked in. I was the first person to say Pizzagate's bull, and pull out of it. We didn't create it. MSM pushed it. And I went, wait, they're focusing on a small area of this larger stuff that's in the Podesta emails that's clearly dirty. The police are telling us. Stuff the cops told us later came out that Weiner was child porn and, about to be indicted. All that's happening. And the sexting the 15-year-old. And then I'm like, why are we covering this? And then I saw some disinfo pieces, and I went, that's it. It's a setup. I totally got pizza place, code words, pizza. And then they turned me into the bad guy because I'm the one that figures it out by December 1st or even earlier and pulls out of it. They take it as a sign of weakness when, no, it's me trying to be credible. All I have is the truth. And when we get diverted off, we're going to tell people. But I'll tell you this, the freak out over pedophile stuff, and I've never seen, not when I exposed 9/11 and the Saudis and everything, and not when I've done all this other bombshell stuff, I'm getting 10 times the resistance on this pedophile empire than anything else. What do you think that's about, Mike Cernovich?
Yeah, because that's, again, how they compromise people in the media. Because Operation Mockingbird proved that the CIA controls a lot of media. A lot of media people, again, they aren't, it's kind of sad, Alex, that they aren't actually pedophiles themselves, but they have pictures of them. They have been compromised. I mean, if you think about it, some of these guys, maybe they're 25-year-old man, they're at a club, they're partying, a pretty girl flirts up to them, they're thinking this is a good thing. Next thing you know, they wake up and all they see is a picture of them next to a naked child. And they're going to write what they're told to write. So that's why most of the media is controlled by deep state, is because most of the people who are in media, they're not actually into children, but they've been compromised and exposed by deep state, and they've been set up. And
that's right. Let's explain how this works. Let's explain how this works. I have this from other sources, and historically this has happened. It's been documented. Look what followers they are, not even wanting to be attacked by the media. Can you imagine when they learned they got tricked into having sex with a 16-year-old girl, or they got drugged and they brought in, naked toddlers or whatever? Can you, or had a toddler chained up and they're in the room with it? Can you imagine? They say, I'll do anything you ever want. And that's all about domination and control. And Zbigniew Brzezinski wrote in one of his books, I think it was The Technotronic Era, I've read a bunch of them, he admitted we control organized crime. That is the deep state. We control the pedophiles. He said we control it all because, then we can control it and keep it small. What a lie. They're the ones that have proliferated it because it's their control system. And so that's why they're normalizing pedophilia in the news, normalizing it in the media, because they want to get more people into it so they have more compromised people.
Right. And all they did when they went after you and went after me, they don't understand how people like you and I think. They don't understand that I know that we are at war and I will die. I will die for the truth. So I don't care if some stupid articles they write about me. Right now, the whole media, they think they're having... All
they do is make us bigger. They don't get it. And I don't care if they... Quite frankly, I don't care if I get sued now. I really thought about it. Great. Depositions, full war. Let's go. And I'm not kidding. It's not... I'm ready. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Well, no, exactly. I put a bunch of money in a trust fund. My daughter has a trust fund. Shauna, my wife, has a trust fund. Whatever, they can come after me. Good luck with that. I want them to sue me because I'm going to depose everybody, whoever went, that they're friends with, everybody that they emailed with. I'm going to be at every deposition. I'm going to send them interrogatories, discovery. That's why you haven't been sued and I haven't been sued, because I want to be sued. Let them. I know.
I was actually asked by PSYOP experts, high level, that have run successful operations. They said, "What genius how you've done this to trick them into suing?" And I said, "No, that's not what happened." And they go, "Well, you better hope they do." And I don't know why I'm even saying that now. Maybe because then they'll think I really am scared. So whatever. The point is that I'm just doing the right thing. And regardless, Mike, we got to get you on more often. God bless you. Dangerandplay.com. Hey, Susan Rice has come out. We've got the clip coming up. She's admitted that she basically did do the spying, but says she did nothing wrong. So they've got a big problem on their hands in the last 24 hours saying you were a big fat liar, Mike.
Yeah, let them keep hating, man. We're committed to the truth, and they're never going to compromise us. Thanks, Alex. You're a hero.
No, you're a hero, brother. Dangerandplay.com. You got your whistleblowing, go there. Go to InfoWars. We got a great crew in there as well. Don and all the rest of the crew. Kit and everybody else. Mikhail Thalen. Just get in there. Kellen McBreen, all our writers. Paul Watson. Paul Watson, by the way, is going to drop the hammer on the pedophiles tonight or tomorrow with a huge investigative report that's going to send shockwaves across the internet. This is a guy that has videos that have had 40 million views. So stand by for main weapon system launch. T-minus. Okay, I'll ask her where she's at. Looks like L.A. to me. Investigating the admitted 474 reported pedophiles, including kids, and enslavement. They've been to the sheriff's department. They're doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work. When they come back, you'll be hearing about. But, Millie, thank you so much for sitting there for 15 minutes with Mike Cernovich. We got him on a little bit late, but I tell you, this is all coming together, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Thank you so much, Alex. You know, we're out here in California. California has the highest number of reported cases of human trafficking out of all the states in the United States. So we're just out here investigating, seeing what we can find. We're going to be talking with various law enforcement agencies as well as nonprofit groups that actually firsthand rescue children from these sex traffickers. And we're even going to be talking with someone that's going to take us into the deep web where they sell these children online. It's pretty disturbing, but you know, we have Hollywood out here. We've had people like Corey Feldman come out speaking about pedophilia problems within Hollywood. And there's a lot of rumors, a lot of stories about massive pedophile rings amongst the Hollywood elite, Alex.
Well, there's been a lot of busts, too. Yeah, nearly 500 arrests in California human trafficking raids. They call it human trafficking in Reuters. It's little kids, 28 children, reported missing, kidnapped, forced into prostitution, okay? So this is confirmed. This is just one of over 3,000 arrests that have happened since Trump. I want to commend your courage and the crew, Zimmerman and others for being out there, as well as Gavin. But I got to thank the listeners, the audience, our affiliates for supporting us to be able to do this, Millie.
Yeah, well, thank you listeners out there that are funding this, because we're actually being able to really investigate, go, you know, and expose these pedophile networks out there. I mean, just being told a little bit with our anonymous source about the way they sell these children online, some of the gruesome stuff. I mean, we're not going to actually be showing any of that. We're not going to be seeing it firsthand, but we will take you guys in and show the, you know, websites where they're in fact selling these children online.
The dark web, and you're going to obviously blur out his face. This is a respected person that's actually saved folks, involved with good folks in the federal government. I got to tell you though, the special forces, the good people in the FBI, CIA, they're all ready to go. I mean, Trump has green lighted a move against these people. Will
triumph. That's just what happens. So more people need to get out there and start, you know, going out and trying to fight this. And that's why we're going to be talking with law enforcement so that they can give us tips on signs to look for and how to report these type of situations when you see a child or a young girl or boy that you think is being trafficked.
Absolutely, and you've got a lot. You've got a person that has been involved in finding child traffickers, pedophiles on the dark web or deep web. And we have another report, LA, that goes directly to rescued victims, also work with LA County Sheriff's Department. Tell me about that. What's going on talking to the Sheriff's Department?
Well, as far as talking with the Sheriff's Department, they've actually been very reciprocative and helping us go ahead and set up interviews. They've actually seemed pretty excited about getting that message out there and having more people hear from them that they really are fighting this and that they want to give people tips on how to stop this, which would lead to more busts for them. Because a lot of times what happens is these children or these young girls, they are too afraid to come forward and say something themselves. A lot of them will actually defend their traffickers because they're afraid. These traffickers threaten their families.
Yeah, Stockholm syndrome.
Yes, exactly. They are terrified to come forward. So it actually is going to require your everyday citizens on the street paying attention to what's going on around them. I mean, if you see some young girl with some older guy that looks kind of bizarre and maybe he's flying her to somewhere else and you're noticing something's off here, they don't look like they could be related, you know, it might be good to report something or, you know, have that looked into. And the problem is most people just mind their own business. They don't.
That's right, because people don't want to believe, you don't want to believe this is going on. And young girls, that's the tip of the iceberg. That's the visible area to get into the networks. We need to save them. But we're talking about young children. We're talking about snuff films. We're talking about Satanism. I know you guys are investigating that as well. I don't want to tip off what you're doing there on that front, but I want to get some basic info straight ahead with Millie Weaver on the other side. And then in the 30 minutes of the fourth hour and the David Knight takes over, I have the former SEAL team leader and Patriot federal officer, Craig Sawyer, joining us. He wants to lead this private task force to cover all this. And personal power for those involved, but you grew up in L.A. I don't know how much you want to get into it, but you grew up witnessing all this. I mean, I remember when you were, in TV shows and stuff, like 4 or 5 years ago, and doing, a reporting for us out in L.A. You're still now young, 24 years of age, but here working for InfoWars. But what's the inside baseball on this? I know you guys are investigating serious Satanism, without saying names, at major institutions in Los Angeles.
Yes, well, thank you, Alex. And the problem is that we have a lot of these cults, these satanic cults that are rampant in Hollywood. I mean, there are so many different types of these cults, but one of the most prominent ones is OTO, which is Ordo Templi Orientalis. It's an Aleister Crowley satanic occult, and it has members in it that are celebrities, that are people in high positions of power.
And really, it's a league of dumbasses acting like they have secret knowledge.
Yes, and they want people to join their cult group prior to giving them that power in that seat, so that they can control the artist, whoever's the one that's in power in that position. And that's really the bottom line. And if you want to think of it from a little bit more of a secular point of view, think of it as these cults are trying to make sure that people join in order to obtain blackmail on them, which will make it so that they are basically puppets that are easily controlled by the cult. So what happens is when they have people join their group, they engage in these bizarre rituals, these Aleister Crowley rituals.
Well, remember Bob Dylan said he sold his soul to the devil for power. He said he wasn't joking. And it was a Taylor Swift. They all say that. The devil, or these people, convinced them that their talents came from the devil, so that if they just sell to the devil, they'll have power, when all they're doing is believing the fraud, when their own talent got them where they were. I mean, that's the greatest thing. And I'm one of the people here, happened to Mark Dice too, but I just knew it was all a big joke. And so we're 1,000 times more powerful not joining them. Back in 70 seconds.
So more on to the Aleister Crowley stuff. They believe in harvesting the energy of children. So when they're doing these things like raping these children or torturing them, they feel that they're harvesting their energy. We're actually going to be going and getting exclusive access to these manuals where they have detailed descriptions on how to essentially bloodlet these children and drink their blood and steal their energy. These elite actually believe that it will make them live longer. So part of it is, in essence, vampirism, to where they believe that they're going to live longer, they're going to be more powerful, have more psychic powers, and all this delusional stuff.
I wonder what powers I get if I take a ball-peen hammer to one of the convicted people's heads.
Yeah, I bet most of the listeners out there are feeling the same way right now, Alex, as I describe this stuff. And it's really not that fun to get into. It's not fun to have to hear about, but at the same time, this is going on, this is happening, it's real, and this is what is making it so that our politicians and our public figures out there are being compromised.
And you're also investigating how this ties into Sharon Tate and her murder. That was all spirit cooking, admittedly. So you're there. That was a CIA operation that's been partially declassified. So you guys have got the mother load when you come back. We're very excited. What else are you on the trail of, Millie?
We're just on the trail. We're going to go down to Irvine, where recently a human trafficking bust happened. It was with a bunch of girls that were mostly from China and Korea, where they were being shipped around from state to state. And it's traced back to Irvine, California, a really nice neighborhood where, in fact, a mom and her daughter were the ones kind of ringleading the whole thing with a group of other people. They were just basically trafficking these young girls around for these sex parties, these trips to where they would, they were calling it basically the Uber of sex trafficking.
Unbelievable. And I love how men commit most of the outright murders, but so many times it's the little loving woman, the little baking cookies and stuff, and then there's meanwhile a dungeon.
Yeah, I mean, we have madams out there that have been famously caught trafficking young women, but it goes both ways. It's not just only a thing with men.
That's right. And then this Irvine thing is they've been accused of it. The police are saying, as they say, they have the evidence. But look at how Hillary pretty much exclusively represented pedophiles when she was a lawyer. That was to prove to the system how evil she was. Because the word is Hillary's not into kids, she's into women. Okay, whatever. But you've still got to serve this combine to be part of the club.
Well, recently, 3 university students were arrested for prostitution, and I have a video report just out on the Alex Jones YouTube channel that we just uploaded today. And actually, one of these young prostitutes that was arrested, her Facebook profile picture was her with Bill Clinton. So there's just another example of the Clintons kind of having these odd ties to
Jerry Epstein, absolutely beyond that. Girl picture of Bill Clinton arrested in prostitution bust. That's up on infowars.com. Just now breaking. Millie Weaver, you, Gavin, Zimmerman, all of you guys, feel free to file reports in your own right. Want to hear from them as well. We'll check in with you each day, Millie, but don't let the live show get in the way of the really deep reporting you guys are doing. So be safe. We're praying for you, Millie.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex.
You bet. All right, straight ahead, the Sawman, Craig Sawyer, SEAL team leader, Patriot Dev Group, whole 9 yards, stars in 3 TV shows and 2 others. Patriot launching the national movement to document the pedophile rings, the busts that are already happening with big intel straight ahead. Really scaring them. We've got our reporters out in the field in California. But Craig Sawyer, former Navy SEAL, contractor, federal officer, you name it, Discovery History Channel show, you name it. He is been aware of this. His sources are aware of this. But instead of just rescuing the people or getting the cops with 3,000 busts, there needs to be coverage. The missing link is coverage. And then I get my other source sitting in the room next door, great guy, is like, yeah, but Alex, then that tells them how we're getting them. I know, but we need to then expose it to bring it all down. So I'm not saying I have all the answers. What is the alchemy that brings those two together? The info war, proving, documenting, just like we did with Susan Rice. That just happened through our great work of Patriots and other things we're working on. Because if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, doesn't make a sound. I'm not saying anybody's wrong or right here. We're all moving in the right direction. I never give up sources, but at the same time, we've got to tell them we're coming for them. They already know we're coming for them, and that's why Craig Sawyer joins us. He got big hits from his intel sources, obviously, in agencies across the board, that we've got people self-identifying, panicking. So this is a big day. Craig, wow, just in the last 5-6 days, all hell's breaking loose. They're really scared of you and others in your team. Let's tell folks what's been unfolding.
Well, I got to admit, I'm flattered that that such big groups are that concerned about little old me and my team. And all we're about is exposing that which has been so successfully suppressed for so long. So, high-level source of mine said that internet chatter right now is, since I launched the organization to help expose this pedophilia ring going on nationwide, globally actually, but we're focused here in the United States. There's 2 specific groups already out there freaking out, panicking, worried about me and what I bring, which is exposure, and looking to discredit us. So they got 3 initial things that they want to come at us for, and it's not a surprise. We knew that this would be par for the course. We anticipated and expected this as standard, to be honest with you, in the political realm. So, but the first thing they want to do is discredit our crowdfunding or our funding, whichever method we do. And then they want to bring legal attacks, whatever that may be. And then they want to smear me, bring, false slanderous attacks against me. So I say, hey, bring it, man. That's what we signed up for. This is coming. We're not going to shut up. We're not the kind of guys that get scared and go away, man. I surrounded myself by guys that I've known for a long time that are anything but scared. So we're ready, come what may. And
let me
all we
say
want to
this
do, again, is expose the harm to children that has been kept quiet.
Let me say this. We've got a fellow here that has been involved in the rescues and things that are going on today who isn't going to go public because he thinks that'll give them tactics and stuff. I think they already know we're coming for him, but I'm going to have that discussion in about 10 minutes. And I'm going to turn it over to you for another 10 minutes or so with David Knight. But I heard from my friend who's here today, he heard Glenn Beck, and I checked with my source. Glenn Beck came out and said his #1 goal will be to stop pedophilia and sex slavery in America, and he's going to lead it with some group called the Underground Railroad. Well, I'm not going to bash that group. I asked my source, is that a good group? He goes, no, it's a total diversion. Now, I'm not bashing anybody that's worked with it or hasn't worked with it. The point is, I work with the real people that are actually involved. 3,000 arrests. They're finding the kids. They're finding all the sex slavery. And then nothing is ever in the news after it. So regardless, the point is, Glenn Beck himself represents himself as a patriot. He always comes in to take over anything we're doing so he can then discredit it later. And I'm not going to bash Glenn on every front. Maybe he's decided to stop being a bad guy. Maybe Underground Railroad's great. All I can tell you is the people I'm working with, and Craig Sawyer and others, most of them unnamed, are 100% on target. And I just asked my other source, because I thought I'd call him in, because I heard about this from, again, a year ago, 6 months ago. He was going on missions all over the world. I said, is Craig Sawyer good? He goes, oh, absolutely, of course. So the point is, we're just vetting all of this because, the fact is the enemy's got infiltrators in here.
Yeah, that's one of their tactics. The classic honeypot technique and other operations that they run. They want to find out on the inside what we're doing and cause a disruption. Because look, they are murdering and torturing children to death. So how are they going to defend that to any sane human being? So if I bring an honest effort with a clean background toward them to simply tell the truth, that's a real threat to what they're doing. So what can they do? All they can do is run around, throwing smoke and trying to divert and distract and hide. But this time it's not going to go away. There's no place to hide. We're going to bring this. We've got a president that'll back us, a DOJ that'll back us, that's not all about pedophilia for once. And it looks like we've got everything that we need, minus the funding. The funding's coming, and we appreciate everybody that's rallying behind us. But our thing, and we're not competing with any of the other groups out there for how many busts or territory or anything like that. What my organization is about is exposure. And we can coordinate with and even assist the other units.
No, I totally agree.
Telling the tale.
In fact, I didn't bring up this other group in Glenn Beck because I don't know them. I just know Beck's a bad actor. And then the other group I mentioned to somebody, and they go, oh, my God, absolutely, just a total diversion. I'm not saying they're bad. They just are all talk. But then I asked my other sources, well, is Craig Ray? So absolutely. So all I'm getting is it's not about who donates money where. I'm not making any money off this. I'm giving my money, you're giving your money, Craig. It's all about funding this operation to do the final missing link. Exactly. You have the law enforcement military ready to cover it, ready to show you the findings when it's not getting covered by media, when the bust happened. We're about bringing real sunshine to this, proving how widespread it is. And I know you can't get into sources and methods and things, but, let's talk about this type of stuff we're witnessing. You wouldn't get into it Sunday. Can you tell people a little bit?
Well, again, we don't want to let them know too much about what we're doing, what's going on, but what we're watching, and we are striking such fear into the hearts of the two groups specifically that are panicking right now at the launch of Veterans for Child Rescue.
Can we say the name?
One is the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, they self-identified. I never mentioned the Muslim Brotherhood as we're going after them, because we're not going after them. We're going after those who harm children. And we know that there are people that do that are in just about every group. And then the other is the head of one of our major political parties. So do the math. Which political party has no moral standards? Which political party booed the name of God out of their convention campaign and so forth. So it's not hard to figure out. And I'm not out to start a war with any political party, but
they declared war on us.
I don't care where they are. We're going to expose them no matter who they are. People are asking me, Saw, are you just going to go after the low-level guys? And absolutely not, man. We're going to go after the biggest fish there are. That's the whole idea. Otherwise, why bother? It's not worth my time. Look, if we can save one child, it's worth.
Yeah, but we need to cut the head off the snake.
Go big.
We need to cut the head off the snake.
Yes, sir. Yep. And I think a part of it, too, is just inspiring the American people to realize, hey, look, we the American patriot, are still the overwhelming majority. We, the basically moral, decent, Judeo-Christian American, are still the overwhelming majority. We hold the power, and we hold the will, and we hold the numbers. So let us no longer sit back and be quiet and just allow this to happen to the youth, what I call the soul of our nation. They're doing this on a widespread basis. They're attacking our children. They're shattering the little kids' lives, and it's horrible. And so I ask people to make a decision. Either you are for harming children toddlers and infants and torturing them to death, or you are against that. It's easy to decide which side of this you're on. So no longer can you sit back and go, oh, I don't know, this is just a sexual deviancy. Some people prefer this. The child does not prefer this. The child cannot get away. The child cannot say, I decline and I want to go outside because I don't like being tortured. I'm in pain and I don't want to die tonight. And I don't want to be raped anymore because I'm 2 years old. The child doesn't have the power to speak for themselves. So the people have to speak for them. So that's why my organization needs the backing of the American public.
Well, I've given 10,000. I'm going to write a check. I've given 10,000. I'll give a check for 90,000 tomorrow. I'm going to send that off with a memo for the film, for the releases, a film they put on the internet for free for everybody to see from the law enforcement what's happening. The InfoWars. Obviously, you're the experts. You won't give away any tactics or stuff. I'm not an expert on that, but that'll all. I just got lectured on that 15 minutes ago during the break, literally. So all this stuff's going on, and we appreciate you. I'm going to have you come back and host 6 more minutes by yourself. David Knight will traffic cop, then he's going to come back and finish up hosting. But Craig, great job. Give out the website for folks again. They killed your You Caring funding when it hit 50 grand. Your other one's at like almost 70 grand, or we'll put it back on screen. That's from memory. I've already given 10. I'm going to give another 90. I'm not rolling in money, but everything I've got is for the children because I've got 3 children, about to have a 4th child, and it's all about life. It's all about committing, and I know how real this is, and I know the president is concerned. It's almost 70,000 there, 50 on the other, and I'm going to give another 90. Everybody should donate at gunfund.me. All right, Craig Sawyer, you come back with David Knight and host another segment. I'm going to punch out and go work on this in the back room. It's just a total war here. So, listeners, thanks for all your support. Pray for us because the enemy is pissed. We'll be right back on the other side. Infowars.com.
I didn't hear the beginning of the interview, Craig. I don't know if you have an address yet that's out that public that people can donate to. I know I've had a lot of people contact me on Twitter wanting that information. So if you've got that, it's a good time to give that out. There we go. I see it up there now.
We do. It's on our website. This is the funding page, but on our website, vetsforchildrescue.org, there's all the new mailing information. So if somebody wants to do that,
good,
rather than go through the online, they're welcome to that now.
Great. And that's very important because, as we saw, first we had GoFundMe, so they didn't want to, basically were non-responsive to everything. You got on with You Caring, and then as you came on with Alex Jones last week, within an hour or two, they completely shut you down. But let's talk about what you want to talk about, where this goes from here, what you're seeing right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's interesting with our counter intel and other assets out there picking up on the chatter on from high-level sources on the internet, seeing who's self-identifying as scumbags who harm children. And we're after saving the children from predators, from those who rape and murder them. And it's interesting to see 2 groups specifically respond to that and assume it's them, and even formulating their attacks against our org. So I'm like, hey, man, if I'm the threat to the bad guys, I'm very honored and I'm very proud of that. I'm ready to tie into it right now. So hey, look,
as soon as you start talking about child abuse, they say, you're talking about me? You're talking about me? I mean, that's kind of self-identifying, isn't it?
It's so telling. I'm like, okay, well, thanks for revealing your position on that. Thanks for telling the American public where you stand.
Yeah.
On children. You hate the children. You want to attack the children. Okay, noted. Now, as far as the operations, what we're looking to do with the exposure piece, I want all law enforcement out there to know that we are not out to expose your specific techniques or our specific techniques. We are going to tell the story, and we're going to show a little bit about what goes on, because what we need to do is bring the public in on it. People need to kind of see what's happening that they're not seeing on the mainstream media. We need to show them a little bit more of the truth of what's going on day to day, night to night out there. But we are not looking to compromise any operational security or undermine any operations. Look, a federal criminal investigator myself and a counter-terrorist operator from the highest level. So I understand OPSEC, and we're your ally. So in case, and I haven't gotten any of that, but in case anybody ever had any concerns, hey, we're for the good guys.
Very important. Yeah, you're not going to compromise any ongoing investigations or tactics.
That's our background. That's what makes us tick, man. So we just want to protect the kids, and I think any decent human being that's not insane or has not like deliberately done some weird thing where they've sold their soul to the devil can agree that we should not be torturing our infants to death.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're,
But of course we've seen this when we look at it in the UK and we look at the case of Seville. And what was happening was we saw people at lower levels of Scotland Yard open up multiple investigations of him, and then they were shut down by the higher-ups. And the same thing happened at the BBC. As soon as the guy died, people knew what was going on. They did a documentary, and then the higher-ups of the BBC shut it down. So that's what we're going against. It isn't the rank-and-file people. They see this. They're offended by this, but it's the people at the upper levels that shut this down.
Yeah, well, it's the weak who abuse their authority. And it's the weak who resort to this kind of desperate caper or scheme to try to gain power in this world. It's disappointing. It would be laughable except for the victims who are very real and the absolute torture and torment that so many children are enduring. So when I have exposed and blown the whistle on federal crooks in the past out of practical necessity, what I saw in the process is that the exposure is what they feared most. That is what they could not control. They had friends across the federal government that were crooks that would allow them to do whatever they were doing, but they didn't control those who were going straight to the media. So I'm like, aha, I see you. I see how you crooks function. I see what shakes your pathetic little coward carcass right to the bone as exposure, because you're what you're doing so despicable and unacceptable that you can't bear to have it known. So we're going to make it known.
That's right. You got to shine light on these cockroaches. It's very important. Give out that website one more time where people can make contributions.
It is vetsforchildrescue.org.
Very good. And that's where people can go directly to contribute to this. Very important. Thank you so much, Craig Sawyer, for your efforts. And that's a very important thing for people to get behind. When we come back, I'm going to tell you how they're trying to normalize this. We have a window here to shut this down, expose it, or they're going to normalize it in society.
March. The empire's on the run.